Okay. Hi, everybody. Again, this is Kara with Senior and Disability Services, and I want to welcome you to our webinar for people who may get services or who are interested in getting services and family members. It's a Zoom session today, so what we'll do is we'll do a presentation about about these things, and then we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A. You can use your chat area. You can type in the messages into our chat, or you could unmute yourself and speak. It's super casual. We're just hoping to share information, with people and families who might be interested in services or who do get services right now, and any of our other staff who are here from Senior Disability Services as well. So, in other words, all are welcome. Today is one of two special sessions that we have for to share on the topics of the support plan and planning for employment services, safety within knowing about safety pieces of a plan and basics on safety, and advocacy for oneself. We have a special PowerPoint that was created by our friends over at the Governor's Council, and very happy and honored to present it to you today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and choose that uh, particular PowerPoint. And like I said, if you have any messages that you want to chat to us, go for it. You can always use the features of Zoom, raise your hand, and you can unmute yourself and speak. And we're happy to stop and take questions too as we go. Okay, so today we're going to talk about making the most out of your meaningful life with a support plan, and that is when a person has a waiver. They have a care coordinator who creates a support plan together with the person, and this is some ideas about whether you have a plan or not, if you have a waiver or not yet. This is how to think about approaching that experience, about making your plan and what to expect. Every plan has an overarching goal. I think the number one thing to remember in planning, whether it's with grant or with waiver funding or any other kind of funding, or just planning in other support areas, just like school or anything, it's really all about you. Um, it's all about the person, and it's all about connecting with family and people who are close to that person who may be able to help that person advocate for themselves on the level that they choose. And so we have a very nice depiction of the our our overarching goal with our statement: I live the life I choose with the support I direct. So we've been calling this the shared vision. This was developed by a group of people who get services, of people who experience disability, and other people, other stakeholders around the world of disability and supports for disability. A while ago now, and advocates pushed it into law. So it is in our law system that our supports, follow the shared vision and help people make this shared vision come true in their life. So it says Alaskans share a vision of a flexible system in which each person directs their own supports based on their strengths and abilities toward a meaningful life in their home, job, and community. Our vision includes supported families, professional staff, and services available throughout the state now and into the future. So the support plan and the approach to the support plan is just one of the ways that we help people fulfill this within life. Part of understanding this is also to know that the advocacy movement regarding people with disabilities and family members and families is this is sort of the crest of the wave. So it's the latest thing. It's a very inspiring vision. So we can truly understand how how services and supports have gone to being sort of minimal to full participation in life on my own terms. And that this is what this is trying to convey. So I really like this a lot. And speaking of life, this is one psychologist's vision of life, and by making a pyramid called the hierarchy of needs. And this is a real common way to understand that we all have needs. Um, every family has needs. Every person is uh, is not going to meet their own needs 100% every time. People grow. People start very young. They grow along different timelines. People have certain skills for independence, and many of us, and myself included, will continue to work on skills of independence lifelong. So that's what makes it nice, is because we're always learning lifelong. And where we are on this pyramid, in one way or another, we may not be in the same segments at different parts of our life. So this is talking about self-realization, working towards the greatest degree of independence that you could possibly have, and honoring that journey, and honoring your strengths and growing your strengths. And so my notes at the bottom are about the medical model. So a lot of times it's confusing because our system, meaning the system of supports with the state and many states, is built on medical needs. So this is what Medicaid is, right? Medical needs. And needs for support, if I experience a disability, also fall into that category. However, the support that I get doesn't really look like medical care, and it isn't all medical care. So the supports that I get to live my life are present because my disability means that I qualify for them. But how it supports me is in ways that are not just medical care. It's learning, teaching, growing, helping me get better skills, supporting me physically when I need that, and um, doing things that I outline for a worker, a care worker, and a team. The best things to do to help me. And I may need help in any of these areas of the pyramid here. And some things are going to be up to me. Um, if I'm going to have a close relationship with somebody, that is going to be up to me to decide and discover and do. If I need social skills to get closer to that, and I need more opportunities to practice, that might be something that a waiver support could help me with, or maybe to get out and meet people and things like that. So it's about supporting a person to live the life they choose. And we do have this particular system that we have now, which is based on medical model. But it is possible, and of course expected, to use that model to the best of its ability to be person centered for you, the person who would who's using the service. Okay. Our next slide says person centered planning tips. So person centered planning is about the person, and it seems obvious to say, but every person is different. So as a person getting services or in a planning team, I'm the person, or my family is there. Everybody is different. So if I'm going to have a planning meeting, you know, I want to hear a lot of questions about me and about what my interests are, as opposed to statements where it's like, well, people your age usually pick this, or people usually pick this, or this is only what's available in the community, so pick this. That's not really person centered. That's called number two, making assumptions. So I want to have a meeting where I am at the center of it, and I am going to define what I want to do with my life, and ways that staff can work with me or support me, and just have an honest conversation about what works and include my family as well. So these are things that you can expect in a planning meeting if you're, you know, if you're in any sort of planning meeting about you. Nothing about you without you. So you shouldn't hear that people are the same. You shouldn't hear assumptions. You should hear that everyone's different, and people should be asking, what is it that you see? What's best to help you? What would be a good way for what would be a good way for a helping person um, to help you to make sure that you're safe and give you choices and respond to you best. And don't be afraid to use details, like if I need time to make decisions, give me that time. Don't just assume because I don't say anything right away or I use a different way to communicate other than words that I don't communicate. Get to know me, listen to me, look at me, and understand what I do to tell you my choices. You can expect the good old golden rule. Golden rule. Treat people how you would like to be treated. So it should be, of course, a friendly, equitable situation. Like you should be given a chance to participate as much as you need to or want to. Um, and then you should be asked how you want to create your plan. Okay, so our first topic here is going to be about the employment piece. We'll talk a little bit about employment and what that looks like in plans and just how to think about that during the session and before the session. Does anybody have anything they want to ask or share before I go into this uh, next next part? Okay. All right. If you want to put in comments, you're more than welcome to put in comments too. And my helping folks here can let me know that there's a comment if you see one. It's a little hard for me to see those if I'm also presenting. Okay, so let's think about employment. So the statement here says how to advocate for meaningful volunteerism, pre-employment, and employment goals. Now, employment could be a whole nother topic. Like we could spend the entire day on employment because employment is very important to people. After our schooling years, employment becomes a big interest for many people, and we want to become somebody and be paid for that and enjoy the power of paying for things on our own and buying things that we want as adults do. And that's why people there's just been a lot of movements around employment and a lot of efforts around employment. Um, but some framework here. Know that there are many steps to it, employment or volunteerism or being a volunteer. No matter which one you want to do, that it's not going to happen tomorrow. You need to plan it out. Think about exactly what you'd like to see happen for you. Um, some people want to work and some people do not. It's just that way. People who experience developmental disability or intellectual developmental disability may choose to work at certain kinds of jobs. That's not the entire job. They may do part of a job. They may want to do self-employment or do a creative endeavor of some kind, make art or something like that. Or they may want to work in the community. Um, really just talk to the person and the choice is yours, and your family can help with all of these thoughts as well. Um, for the service of employment, working on employment to support a person during employment, of course, each person will have their own goal. Really depends on how much the person wants to do. Um, some people may already have work. Some people may have wanted to pursue a particular kind of work for many years. Um, I would say that the big takeaway here is to just make sure that your goal and the steps that you would take towards your goal of employment or being a volunteer are tailored to your interests. So I didn't say it in the beginning, but I've had the privilege of working with people for many years, and a lot of times people have a lot of successful outcomes for employment when they really just start with what they're interested in. So if somebody really likes cats or they really like animals, there's a lot of ways to do volunteering around a special topic like that that's close to someone's heart. I would start there just to make sure that, you know, that it becomes an effort towards something the person really wants and brings joy into your life. We all should have jobs that bring some kind of joy into our life, and that can be as we define it. So don't be afraid to share what you really think is important to you. It says no matter how unique. There may be somebody might want to learn, they want to walk dogs, or they may want to, work in an office or work around food, or work with, any kind of the jobs that you see in your community. You may want to be part of that story of your community, or you may have something inside to express. You want to be a DJ, or you want to maybe you want to work at a place like Lowe's or Home Depot, and there may be a part of a job there that you could do. It's all open to exploration, but it needs to start with you. So, and you need to be open minded too. There may be jobs that are different than what you think. But if you start with what it is that you like, then you will have a lot of options. For example, once I helped a family and a young man who wanted to be a police officer, but he wasn't really going to go all through all the schooling and training to become a police officer. But really, when we talked with him, he really wanted a job where he could wear a uniform. He really liked the uniform, and he wanted to wear a uniform. It didn't have to be the same as a police uniform. So there's lots of jobs where you can wear a uniform, where he could be successful in many parts of the job without just hearing, messaging like, no, you can't do it. It was deep listening that brought the joy into his life with a job in which he could wear a uniform. Um, and of course, the goals in your plan or in supportive actions must be person centered. And each plan has goals and objectives within it, and they are written differently for waiver services, such as day habilitation, supported employment. Every habilitation service, I should say. And when I say that word, it means services that help me gain in skills, help me grow, help me do things that help me improve communication skills, or I might want to get better at a particular task or something that I do each time I'm at work or something like that. So that's what habilitation is. So volunteering is fun to talk about. It's a great way to help build skills for employment. It really needs to be based on things that you're interested in. So you can get experiences as a volunteer, and you aren't held to schedules, well, maybe some schedules, but it's not like you're on a work schedule. It might be a good way to try out things. There's a lot of opportunity for social interaction. You can get to see and meet people in the community, hopefully around an interesting thing that you like and they like too. You can build a resume, and you can also build your confidence. So you may feel like, well, I really want a job, but I'm not used to being around a lot of people, or I don't really know how to do something, Well, maybe if you try that thing out in a volunteer capacity, you might feel better about that when it comes to thinking about employment. And that's not to say that volunteerism is not its own goal in and of itself. You want to be a volunteer. It's more all about you so that you can get skills that you need to hopefully enter paid employment. Because employment, I mean, I just want to make sure that people understand that when they do things, they should be paid. Okay. So you don't want to remain a volunteer necessarily, unless that's truly your choice. If that's truly your choice, then that's fine and that's acceptable. Just wouldn't want people to think that, it's not possible to be paid um, for what you're great at that you learned during being a volunteer. Okay, so volunteer objectives should include steps to maintain and be successful in volunteering and steps to grow in paid positions if desired. Sort of like what I just said. Pre-employment is a service available in the waiver array choices. So pre-employment these are sets of things that you do to get ready for a job. Okay, like interviewing skills, right? You might have to answer questions at an interview, wearing work work ready clothes, resume, have a resume. Volunteering, say, yeah, I can do that because I did it before at this place, or I did something like it, and I've gotten better at it. You can take job readiness classes and different trainings, possibly. There's lots of trainings out there now for everything you can think of, particularly online and even online skills. So there's a whole new world out there in terms of work on the computer that people might not think about. But if people really like the computer, then it might be something to think about. Maybe take some trainings about working with different computer applications, or even just regular documents like most businesses use. There's free trainings and tutorials online. Pre-employment should include preparing for a specific job. Um, it can include general preparations for a variety of jobs and should lead to employment that you find interesting or rewarding. And it's important to note that in terms of it being a waiver service, it is limited. There's only a certain amount available. So if a person has waiver and employment services, then pre-employment is going to be for ahead of that or for preparing for a new job, perhaps, but it is a limited amount of time slash, service available. Okay. So goals are there to help you grow, right? So you can think about what it is you'd like to do, how you'd like to grow and improve during employment. And we have a sample statement here. John will make sure to improve his performance and customer relation skills in order to progress in his job. And when I say objective, that is a long word that just means a step. So here we have 3 steps that John can take as written in a plan, like a really just written down, so staff will know how to help John do this. John will communicate with a supervisor once a week to discuss progress and evaluate goals. That's pretty easy. So John and his supervisor will know, hey, we're going to have a weekly meeting. We're going to talk about progress and take a look at how you're doing. The second one says John will meet the expectations of his current position, make sure he's on time. All right. So there is work schedule. So he's going to make sure he gets to work on time. The third step, John will meet the expectations of his current position by improving customer relations skills. And that would be a whole lot to think about there, depending on who John is and how he wants to improve his customer relations skills, and just working directly with him to figure out exactly what that looks like. And that would be written in the plan. Here's another example. It says goals can include ways to help you fully meet the expectations of your position. Jill will make sure she's meeting job requirements. How? Jill will get to know her listed job duties provided by her supervisor. That's one step. Another step, Jill will check her calendar every day to make sure she's attending all of her required appointments. And The third step says Jill will check in with her supervisor once a week to make sure she's meeting expectations. And so it's easy to see here that there's a lot of time a person will spend, on a job, not actually working on those three steps, but just to make sure that they work on those three steps during the, the job time. And those three steps need to mean something to the person and help that person be successful in their work. Other things to think about, I would probably put this in with any service in a support plan. It should be plain language, like you need to understand it. So when I say it that way, I don't mean to put the burden on the person to understand. It really is the language that's used. So make sure that it's easy to understand. If I'm somebody having a plan and I don't understand, please don't be afraid to say, wait, I don't understand that. You need to break it down for me, right? So we work hard at trying to, or people in the system work hard at trying to create language that's easy to understand. It can be incredibly hard because of all the different, initials and code words and things like that. But it needs to be easy to understand. It needs to be centered on the person. And it says active voice, which is just simpler sentences, short sentences that get to the point. Um, it says multiple measurable objectives. That just means that the steps, like I talked about, the steps are there. There's enough of them for a person to be working on skills and actually feel like they're getting gains and actually get gains and make progress on them. Communication skills are always good in terms of there's always going to be communication of some kind at every moment of life. So it's always good to think about how we can ease communication or enhance communication in any service. If you like your goals and the reviewer denies the goals, you can challenge the denial. So if there's anything to know about planning is that it is a back and forth conversation. So chances are if goals are there and they get denied, it may be because they don't match the service or it's just not clear. So it's a chance to do it over and do it in a clear way, and your care coordinator can help with that. Your plan should avoid writing what you can't do over and over. Your plan should focus on areas you want to work on, and your care coordinator can help with that. Okay, so I know that we have to demonstrate that people have needs in areas, and that's why I might be in the program to begin with, is because I experience a disability and I have certain needs. But my plan is not a list of my needs and a list of things I can't do. My support plan is a support plan. So it needs to clearly paint the picture of my supports and how they are being planned. Okay, so those are some things to think about regarding employment. Our next section here, I believe, is about safety. And after that, I'm trying to look at my little tiny things here. Oh, it's about recreation, ideas for recreation. Any thoughts or questions before I talk about safety for a little bit here?
I think you're good.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's talk a little bit about safety, and we're coming into it through the lens of emergency preparedness, which just means being ready for an emergency. So there's been studies for our communities with disability uh, and about being prepared for emergencies. So basically, my notes here say that it's less likely for people with disabilities and families to have their home prepared and less likely to evacuate, but will need greater assistance when they do evacuate. So there's been a lot of opportunities for people to learn from, widespread disasters, unfortunately, that have happened throughout our world. Um, so this is how we get this awareness that to be prepared for a disaster is very important. It's not something anybody wants to think about, or would welcome in any way. But to be prepared is to have peace of mind and to know that you're setting yourself up for the best possible outcome if it should happen. So, some statistics here: Alaskans with disabilities, a little over half report having supplies to shelter in place. Just under 20% have a written plan for emergencies. About a third report having a go-to kit or a go kit, something that we carry with them when they leave. Okay. So this is we would like to know that this would be higher for people who experience disability and families. But the good news about it is that there are resources out there. You can make a plan. So what isn't a plan? Who to contact, what is needed, where to go, and how to get there. You can make a plan, you can get a kit, and you can stay informed. So those are three things that you can do ahead of a disaster to be better positioned to be in a better place should it happen. So other things to think about for emergency preparedness for a person with a disability and a family would be, how do you receive communications? Um, are you aware that there are different notification systems? Are you signed up for different alerts or texts, or um, our different news channels would share that? And there's a lot that goes out by text right now in terms of the different alerts. So are you signed up for those with your phone, or another means? Do you have your technology adapted so that you can understand it? Or if not, how about the person who helps you? Are they ready for those things? How will you evacuate? What kind of transportation do you need? What about your service animal? Do you have a service animal? If you do, you'll have a kit prepared for your animal too, food and water for your animal as well. Um, and having access to medications, mobility devices, and medical equipment. Some people have a generator to, keep electricity going should it be turned off. Some people have signed up with their local emergency services to let them know that of their address and that there is a person with a disability or people with a disability living at that address. So they sign up with their local police and fire department, just to let them know that if there are calls or a wider spread disaster involving that address, that somebody is there who needs extra help. Okay, and so there is a toolkit available, and it's got a whole lot in it. I'd be happy to email this to you if you want to get a copy of it. Um, we just have digital copies available, but I could also find out where you could request a physical copy if you need that. And if you want one, if you would just put your email address into the chat, then I'll have it. I can have that ready for you and send it out. And we can send a copy of our presentation as well, this presentation today. Any thoughts or questions about being ready for a disaster? It's more just like a reminder. This particular booklet here is pretty great, so I would recommend that. Okay, thank you. It says it is a great resource. Thank you. I know I like that one too. And I every time I think of this, I'm like, wow, really have to get, go refresh my disaster kit, because even to the point where, do the clothes that I put in it fit my loved ones? that I have um, that live with me. I have two young adult children who experience autism. So I think about this a lot. Would I have the right kind of food, and I should go check it to make sure that it's not too old. And I have to make sure I have dog food in there and enough water for everybody. So it's a good thing to do this at least once a year to check your disaster emergency supplies. Haven't yet signed up with local police and fire, but that is on my list of things to do. Okay, let's talk about recreation. Recreation is a fun topic. We think about it a lot about this time of year. We're thinking about getting out and doing more outside or getting more active. Being active is difficult a lot of times for families and individuals who experience disability. We do have some statistics here all the way back from 2017 when this study was done called Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance System. Um, so people who experience disability um, are more at risk for obesity, slightly more, I guess, uh, and much more at risk for experiencing fair or poor health, probably related to their disability, not really essentially the lifestyle, but directly related to disability. People who report 0 unhealthy days is interesting because it says it's a self-rating system. People who have a disability actually reported 0 unhealthy days about half as much as people who don't have a disability, or give or take. People who report they're inactive, again, is higher than people who don't experience a disability. And the level of the rate of heart disease present in the populations of people who experience disability versus people who do not experience disability is quite a bit higher. So recreation can help with these things simply by getting out and keeping your body fresh and keeping your mind fresh and keeping you going. And I'm not talking about always physical movement. I'm talking about being out there, doing everything that you can, socializing with friends, people who experience a complex physical disability, same thing. Um, do what you can, get out as much as you can, move as much as you can, and it brings better health. Um, some people don't want to do recreation, but there may be something that a person who states they don't want to do it, it might be they don't like certain aspects of it. Like maybe they don't want to be in a place that's noisy or super uncomfortable, or outdoors might be uncomfortable for people. There might be something better to do indoors. They might do something based off of computer classes or something like that. I know we've all been through the pandemic, so we're familiar with Zoom recreation and things like that, online fitness and adapted fitness and things of this nature. Just make sure that it makes sense to you and you find it interesting and you find it fun. And your goals regarding it, should it be supported in a plan, not literally recreation, but things to do that are in the community and of interest to you. If that's supported in your plan, then make sure it's all about you and it's realistic. Your goals are realistic, and you are feeling like it fits your interests. Okay, you'll have a personalized plan that takes in your preferences into account. Um, you can always work in peer support or a fitness buddy. That helps a lot. If somebody wants to make some movement goals, um, or whatever it is, like we're going to spend a certain amount of time walking, it sure would be nice to go for a walk or a roll or a stroll with a friend. There's general health education that you can engage in. If a person has a behavioral modification plan and that it's vital to their health and safety that they would um, have a health plan like this, then it can be super clear to support that person. If a person needs medical support or maybe consult their doctor before they embark on a plan like this, they can do that. And when it says DSP, it means direct support professional. So a person and their family of just direct support professional, and a family can support the person as well. For example, you know, if I'm trying to decrease my eating unhealthy foods, then people around me should be supportive of that, and be um, I should be able to have alternatives that work for me, and have enough healthy foods that make sure I am full and not uncomfortable. And I develop healthier habits, and sometimes it's everybody involved around me that supports that. Okay, recreation opportunities, things like Special Olympics. They serve youth and adults with intellectual disabilities. They have Partners Club, which puts uh, which is welcoming people who don't experience disability into Special Olympics and the Partners program. And then there's senior, and they count it at 35 and over, and different sports that people can participate in through Special Olympics. And we have a picture of bowling and golfing, and there's other sports too. So Special Olympics is long-standing option for recreation and fitness and just fun. Very inclusive, long tradition, um, super fun. There are playground options, inclusive play, meaning inclusive playgrounds through the Anchorage Parks Foundation. They have built quite a few inclusive playgrounds. I don't have a list of them, but it's pretty cool to see the the newer ones go up, so people with different abilities can enjoy the space. Regionally, we have Challenge Alaska, Independent Living Centers, Orca and Sail, uh, and Trails in Kenai. Hope Community Resources has and the Kenai Community Center. This is trying to show that there's different places um, in different areas of Alaska that can help provide recreation opportunities. And on an individual basis, a person might want to explore these things. So, have we tried hiking, walking, or rolling, biking, swimming, tennis, rock climbing, stand up paddleboard, skiing, or snowboarding? Any of these activities can potentially be adapted. Um, Sled hockey, water sports, for it could be adapted for physical ability differences. Um, and then, you know, it's just like anything else. You start small and then you get great. So it is a journey. Any of these would be a journey. For example, yoga for me, oh boy, that would be very difficult for me to start. I'm interested in it. I'm a little scared, but if I started, I would need to have lots of patience with myself and stay dedicated to it so I could grow and get better. Some people run the long races. Some people run a short race. That's how they start. Okay, it's all legit. It's all part of experiencing this, and a lot of it can be very sensory and very fun. And it doesn't, nobody has to be the best. You just have to, like in Special Olympics, do the best you can. That's your best. So here's a sample goal of exploring recreational activities in the community. And it's interesting because it's worded that way, exploring recreational activities. It's not providing recreation for the person, it's the person exploring the activities. So, can you see the person centered part of that? The person is exploring recreational activities one time a week. Okay, sounds reasonable. A description or justification. This is how would be written in a plan. Day Habilitation Services will aid Laney in maintaining satisfying and rewarding connections and relationships within her community by doing recreational activities with her friends and family members when she wants to. So this is a great way to talk about choice and to place the person at the center. Okay, so it's not just kind of like Kara's gonna go to the gym. 3 times a week and she's going to lose 10 pounds by whatever. It's more the way they have it here is like she's going to have satisfying and rewarding connections and relationships with her community by doing things she chooses. So, she's going to learn some things and she's going to maintain her health. She would like to. She's going to practice skills, keep track of time, use the new machines at the gym. And it talks about any kind of barriers that we talked about. Like we talked about medical barriers with Lanny, so she's going to be healthy enough to do these things. And yeah, so the rest of it just says Lanny will be able to practice skills she learned, keeping track of time and using new machines at the gym. Lanny does not have any medical restrictions and wants to be an active member of her community. Lanny will be able to choose activity and use skills of checking the weather, call friends to see if they're available, as well as examining finances, etc. Lanny has choices over her daily activities, which may include but are not limited to socializing with her peers by recreation in their community, for example, bowling, or by individually recreating on their own, for example, ice skating. So it's interesting. It's a kind of a cool goal. It has things that you could do with others or things that you could do that's like a solo sport. And there's the different kinds of things like that are nice because they have options. The person has options of what they want to do. Here we have a cool list of recreation and exercise resources, and there's a lot here. Um, I see some ones that I might try. Adaptive yoga. I might need to do some chair yoga, I think. I might get my kids involved in that, my young adults. Be something easy to do at home. So there's the workout to go exercise booklet, play every day, event calendar, health futures challenge, elementary school challenge, challenge Alaska, and so on. And our last topic here is safety and responding to abuse. So the this topic here, where I just have a few slides, uh, we're presenting to you a selection of topics that are of interest to individuals and families. And a common thread here is safety. So all of the things here have a safety component. Um, Within its person-centeredness and within making choices, we always want to make sure that people feel like they are safe, and they are safe, to recreate in the community, to have a job in the community, um, to communicate, to do any of these things. So one of the foundational things is having knowledge of risks, and safety regarding abuse. So our slide here says risk which is specific to experiencing disability. Rates of serious violent victimization, rape, sexual assault, robbery, or aggravated assault were more than 3 times higher for those with disabilities. This is very unfortunate as a true statistic. So we want to make sure that people are empowered to live in and move and grow within our communities, and we empower our families and friends and people who are advocates on behalf of the person, to help keep them safe and keep their rights for choice as well. And people can do that within themselves as well, like personal space, defining your space and your safety zone, things like that. So if a person experiences abuse, it says here safety and responding to abuse, how to be person-centered for family or others who support the person. Don't make choices for the survivor of the abuse. Tell the person about services that are available. Remind people that you're a mandatory reporter. So if I'm somebody who takes care of people with a disability, and I am somebody who does that, I am a mandatory reporter. Okay. If I'm a care worker of any type, I'm a mandatory reporter. That means that I am going to report that um, abuse to Adult Protective Services or Office of Children's Services. Okay. So it helps if we give the person the option to call police with you if they would like versus calling by yourself. And that is in cases when, there's been a crime or a clear threat to the person's health and safety and clear danger. Um, you can involve the person in calling or reporting that, and or you can do it yourself. And the theory here is everybody has the right to be protected. Okay, so if there's clear imminent danger or a crime has happened and the person does not want to call police, you can do so. Just, help the person understand that that's what you're going to do or that's what you're there to do. It's always a tough conversation, but everybody has the right to be protected and shouldn't go silent or fall silent because something has happened. It's not the person's fault. Um, a lot of times people think it's their fault because they're trying to maintain control of some kind, emotional control over the situation when their control has been taken away. So help that person understand the basics is that you're there to help and that reporting is a key step in that. Listen to the person, let them share, let them know, it's hard for them to share and just be super patient. It's helpful to talk about these things ahead. Here we have a document that came out of the COVID-19 work products that were around personal safety. Okay, so it's it has a plan of action, so you could always talk about this ahead of time with somebody and make it part of a regular plan. Like if something happens to me that's not safe, or I was hurt or victim of a crime, or somebody abused me, who would I talk to? Right? A person I trust, the police or APS. Will I talk to them face to face or on the phone? What am I going to say? These things. Here's the list. What do I want to happen next? Keep myself safe, work with an advocate, learn to protect myself, have someone check on me regularly. So this remains a good tool to plan for something in case something would happen. So it's not quite so scary if it did, and it's not coming at the person or the family for the first time. Okay. A lot of times people have questions about adult protective services, or people think, well, they're going to take my person away, or the person thinks I'm going to have to move and go to a place that I want to live in, or something like that. I don't want that around me. I don't want that problem. So this is just an affirming statement from Adult Protective Services that says freedom is more important than safety. A person can choose to live in harm or even self-destructively as long as they have the capacity to choose. They're not harming others and are not committing a crime. So it's it's tough sometimes to understand that people live the way they choose, and it may not be the way that we agree with or the way that we would live. But a person still has the right to choose that as long as they're not harming others and or committing a crime, and that they have the capacity to choose that. So sometimes there's thoughts about, the person may not have the capacity to choose that, or they wouldn't live that way if they did have capacity to choose. So that is where people might get involved with the protective services and offer other choices that the person might, grab onto instead of the way they are living. But people are always given choice. That's the important part here. Okay. There's not like lockdown options for people who live in ways that are not, not committing a crime, not harming others. Maybe they're self destructive, but they're choosing to do so. And then eventually they usually will make a choice that's not so much self-destructive, usually with engaging with the system and being given other services and choices to make. Okay, so that comes up to our last slide. I know that we're almost up at the top of the hour here, but I did want to give us at least a minute or two here for some essential questions about our topics today. Um, Today we have talked about many wonderful things. Um, We talked about responding to abuse there at the end. We talked about options for recreation and thoughts about recreation and staying active and having choices and engaging maybe with support plan services around that, being prepared for emergencies. And we talked about work and employment and volunteering. And we talked about the shared vision and how the shared vision is super important and it being as it is a law. And I'll show the shared vision here again. So what are your thoughts? Any takeaways here that you'd like to share? I live the life I choose with the support I direct. Okay, I don't see comments. That's okay. So I really want to thank you for spending time with me here today, talking about this wonderful selection of topics here. And thank you for being part of the audience and participating. Um, as always, you can come to our further sessions. You see if I have a flyer handy here. I may not, but we do have other sessions for individuals and families. Um, let's see. We have a family info share once every quarter, family and individual info share once every quarter. I'm setting about to share it here. And you're more than welcome to that. It's the same link that we've used here today. And the next one is going to be June 27th, 12 to 1. And that's going to be a presentation about eligibility and some Q&A. And we'll go through this presentation again on September 1st. So if you know anybody who wants to come, feel free to share the link, the same one that you joined. And we welcome any and all people to our presentations here in this forum. All right, thanks again for coming, everybody. I'll go ahead and close the session. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. And hopefully I get a chance to visit with you again in a future webinar. All right, thanks, everybody. Bye-bye for now. Enjoy the nice weather.